Hey everyone, it's Sarah from Sass Series, and today I am bringing you my favorite books of 2017. I have 10 books that I consider to be my favorites. I will give like 3 shout-outs to 3 books that I also gave 5 stars, but did not make my top 10 list. Those books are When I Am Through With You by Stephanie Cooen. I gave this one 5 stars. It's magnificent. I have a review for it. I will link that down below. I also gave 5 stars to The Screwtape Letters by C.S. Lewis. This was a fantastic novel, but it did take me a long time to get through it, and so therefore I don't consider it to be top 10 material. And also Girls Made of Snow and Glass by Melissa Bashardoust. I gave this 5 stars, and it was one of my favorite books of 2017, and it was a surprisingly wonderful debut novel. So, next up, let's dive right in. I'm just getting over a cold, so if I sound kind of crackly, I'm sorry. I've been sick for like a week. But anyway, at number 10 is the last book. Well, not the last one. I actually read another one on the last day, but like, this one's like one that I wrote a review for, so I will link that down below. It's Uprooted by Naomi Novik. I absolutely loved this one. Obviously, it's number 10 on my list. It was just so much fun. I love the magical world. It felt like coming home. It's one of those classic fantasy stories that I just loved, and I'm excited to talk about it in a review. And I also have a physical written review, so I'll link that down below. Next up, I have number 9, The Outsiders by S.E. Hinton. This is my first time reading The Outsiders, and I absolutely adored it. It was the first book that I read when I got to college this semester, so it was kind of like the kickstart to my fall semester back in my apartment, and it was a nice book. I cried a lot. It's great. Highly recommended. And number 8 on my list was one of the earlier books that I read in 2017, and I absolutely adored it. It is Animal Farm by George Orwell. It's very white and pink. And yeah, this is a really famous classic. I didn't love it as much as 1984, but I still absolutely loved it. I had so much fun annotating it and like looking through my copy. It's like so much fun to just see all my notes and all the thoughts that I had, and I'm really excited to write a review for this one because, you know, I need to write my reviews, but I'm lazy. Number 7 on my list is Redeeming Love by Francine Rivers. I loved this book. It is a favorite at my college with me and my friends. We talk about it a lot. It's wonderful. It's one of those beautiful historical romance stories. It's set in the gold rush in 1850 in California, and it follows a prostitute and Michael Hosea, who's like based off of the book of Hosea in the Old Testament and Bible, and it destroyed me, and it's so good, and everyone should read it because it's wonderful, and you will love it if, you know, romance is your thing. I don't know, I feel like some people who don't love romance may not like it, but one of my friends who's not really into romance read it, and she absolutely adored it. So, you know, if you are a little bit of a hopeless romantic or just looking for a romance story that isn't really focused on the romance aspect but more on like character development and the historical context, you may enjoy this, because I obviously did. Number 6 on my list is a Stephen King novel. It is Firestarter by, of course, Stephen King. I love this one. I actually only gave, I think, 3 Stephen King novels 5 stars. I gave a couple 4.75, 4.5 and stuff, but these are my solid 5-star books. I loved Firestarter. I just loved the dynamic between Charlie and her father, Andy, and I just loved following their journey as they're escaping from the shop, who's like trying to take Charlie and use her as a weapon of mass destruction. It's so much fun, and like I flew through this. It's kind of a chunkier one. It's like almost 600 pages, 564. But I flew through it. I read it in I think 2 weeks, which is quick for me because like I read 10 books at one time, so I'm constantly going in between books, but this one held my attention, and I really, 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 really love this one. Next up on my list at number 5 was actually the first book I read in 2017, so it's kind of amazing that it still stayed in my top 5. It is All the Ugly and Wonderful Things by Bryn Greenwood. Oh, this book, it is not for everyone, and I have a feeling so many people will be disgusted by it and they'll hate it and whatnot, but this story it's magnificent. I loved it so much, just because like the overall message was like, you shouldn't judge people by what you see, mainly because we don't know each other's backstories and the actions that drive others, and so it's important to realize like you don't know. And I love this one so much, and it follows Wavy, who's the daughter of a drug dealer, and a mother who's very manic. She has all kind of mental handicaps, as well as she's an addict, so, you know, these things, and it's so good. And she ends up falling in love with a man in his 20s when she's like 7. So, you know, not for everyone, but I loved it. So take that as you will. Either you'll be disgusted and you'll hate it, or you'll be moved and you'll be one of those people who loves taboo shit like I do, because I'm trash for taboo stories, and this totally was just like, the lyrical prose Greenwood uses is fantastic, and it's just, I love it, and I finally have my own copy, and I love it. So yeah, number 4 on my list is A Court of Wings and Ruin by Sarah J. Maas. I rewarded myself with this book because it came out during my finals week in the spring, and the minute I finished taking my environmental science test, I was like, okay, Sarah, you're done. You're officially done with the spring semester. Your first year of college is done. And so I went out and I bought a copy. And then I read it for like 2 days, and it was amazing. I loved it. It's my personal favorite in the trilogy. I have a trilogy review of the first 3 books. You can go look at that. I'll link it down below. But yeah, this right here, this is my favorite just because I love court politics, and like the beginning is like one of the best opening, like I love that kind of anti-hero vibe that Farrah was giving off, and I was totally living for her being a double spy. Yes, that's my stuff, man. Love it. Books are falling. Number 3 on my list was a book that I had to read for my literary studies class. It is Revolutionary Road by Richard Yates. I love Revolutionary Road so much. It follows the Wheelers in 1950s suburbia, and it's a tragedy, man. It's a tragedy. I want to like do a full-length review for just this book alone because I have so much to say, and I love it so much, and I wish that more people read it because I feel like it's a classic not really anyone talks about, and I think it's because the tragedy involves a woman, and the type of tragedy is very kind of graphic, and so it's not something that many people want to talk about in comparison to Gatsby, which has gun violence, and that's like the type of tragedy that people like to talk about. This one is something people want to ignore, even though it was very prevalent in 1950s suburbia. Love it. And Richard Yates, man, he can write. Next up is number 2, and that is Dolores Claiborne by Stephen King. I love Dolores Claiborne. It's just so good. It follows a woman who is revealing how she killed her husband, and it's only told through her narrative. Like, you don't hear any other voices at all. It's just solely Dolores the whole time, and I love that. I thought it was so unique, and it was fantastic, and I loved it. And then we have my favorite book of 2017 and my all-time favorite novel, and if you saw my full-length review for it, I mean, this is no surprise. It's The Stand by Stephen King. I adore this novel so much. You can go check out my full-length review on it because, yes, this is my baby. This is the holy grail of books that I read. And so those are my top 10 books of 2017. And let me know down below in the comments, what were your 2017 books that were your favorites? Leave your links down below and I'll go watch your videos. Bye! Don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you down below in the comments.